Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Stansfield's Education Videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to create Andy Warhol style images in PhotoPea. And the first thing you're going to want to do, and which I've already completed but I'll show you here, you're going to go ahead and create a new project, and we want to name that file. You can name it Pop Art or Andy Warhol Pop Art, something like that. And then we're going to change our width and our height to 10 inches. So make sure that you are changing pixels to inches. If that's not already selected, choose 10 width, 10 height, and then the DPI can remain the default at 72. Go ahead and create that new file. You can see I've already created this, so I'm just going to close one of these, and I've got this square right here. If we were to check our image size here, we could go to image size, and you'll see that the pixel dimension is 720 pixels by 720 pixels. The DPI is 72. And how do we get to those 720 pixels? Well, you take 10 and you multiply it by 72, and there's your 720 pixels. So we're not going to resize it, but that's one way to check. The next thing we're going to do here is get a portrait. Now in this case, Andy Warhol was really interested in celebrities, so I would recommend searching for a photo of a celebrity. Now there's a couple of things that I would recommend doing here. When you go to Tools, change the size to large when you do a Google search. I'm searching for Michael B. Jordan here. He's so dreamy, I just can't help myself. So we're going to find a portrait that is head and shoulders. This picture right here I think would be a great choice. This one would be a great choice. I think having a plain background is going to make your life easier, so let's go ahead and click on this photo. And then look at the photo right down here, the dimensions, 1200 by 1200. If you already have a square crop like this, you're going to be in good shape. But if you had a rectangular crop, something like this photo right here, you're going to probably have to crop in a little bit in order to get your image to fit the right way. So let's go back. This is a really good choice. If you can find a photo that looks like this, you're in good shape. And then you want your pixel dimensions to be larger than, and I would say probably quite a bit larger than 720 by 720. 720 by 720 is the size of the final image, but if you have to crop in at all, this is going to be important that this image is bigger than that. So let's go ahead and choose this 1200 by 1200. The crop looks good, everything looks great. And to save the photo, we just right click or two-finger click on a Chromebook and save image as. We're just going to go ahead and save it to the desktop. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and rename this mbjordan.jpg, and then I can find it a little bit easier when I go over here to PhotoPea. The next step is to go to File, Open, and Place. And what we're going to do is place this file into this pop art document that we've made. So I'm going to look for mbjordan.jpg and click OK. And it's going to place that file in there, and it's going to place it in there really nicely. Again, because this was already a square, it's going to fit perfectly. But if you need to do any resizing, if you have an image that doesn't quite fit, let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to actually hit undo here. Control Z is the shortcut key. Let's close that window. Let's go ahead and find an image that is not a square. Here's a photo. It's 1000 by 800. This might be a little bit small, but we'll see. So we go ahead and save image as. Let's go ahead mbjordan2 and then go ahead back over here to PhotoPea. So yeah, choosing the right file is going to be really essential, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Open in place. Let's go find that file, mbjordan2, and open it. And you can see it doesn't quite fit. Well, if you grab this corner here and start to adjust it, you can make it fit. Now, you got to be careful here because PhotoPea will let you skew this image like this. It won't actually lock the dimensions of that file until you hold the Shift key. So while you're kind of clicking and dragging this corner, hold the Shift key and it'll keep the dimensions so you're not making Michael B. Jordan's ridiculously handsome face skewed. So what we want to do is fill that square. You can see I've got that head and shoulders, I've got some of the background, and I was holding the Shift key so that the image doesn't skew at all. When I'm done, I can click this little check mark right here. Now what happens if I click the check mark, but I want to adjust it again? Well, if you get the Move tool here, and then you can click Show Transform Controls, or you can go to Edit, transform, or free transform is the shortcut key, is the kind of transform you want. The shortcut key here on a Mac is Command Option T. It should be Control Alt D on a Chromebook, but it could be slightly different. In any case, you want to fill the frame with the picture. Now I'm going to keep this photo, again, because it probably is a little bit harder to work with than the other one, so I can show you some obstacles that you might run into. The next step is to make a selection. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have the image layer selected over here in the Layers palette, and then we can make a selection. There's a number of ways that you can make a selection in PhotoPea. We're going to go ahead and try the object selection first, just to see how it can work and sometimes often doesn't work. So in this case, what we're going to do is click and drag from this upper left-hand corner, and it says here the cross should be fully inside the subject, and we're going to go ahead and try to create this selection right here. So it just sees the bottom half of Michael B. Jordan's ridiculously handsome face here and selects that. Let's try a different selection. Select, deselect, or you can see here that the shortcut key on a Mac is Command D. That's also Control D on the keyboard. So from now on, when I deselect something, know that you can use that shortcut key, Control D. Let's go ahead and try the quick select tool. Let's click somewhere inside his neck here. Oh, it says smart object must be rasterized first. And let's go ahead and rasterize that. So you can see over here this little square. This indicates that this is a smart object. We're going to go ahead and rasterize that. You can see that that has been completed here in the history. You can also, if you wanted to, right-click on the layer itself. Maybe. I don't know why that's not working. I don't want to select the pixels. There it is. So you can right-click on the layer and then rasterize is right here. Should be an option. If it's not, you can convert it to a smart object first and then rasterize it. So once you've rasterized it, then you can go over here to the quick selection. Go ahead and click quick selection. Make sure that this layer is selected, and then click somewhere in the skin tone here. That's not working. So again, shortcut key, Command D. Let's click in the neck now. Let's click in this now. So it's not giving me the selection that I want here with the quick select tool. Let's try the magic wand tool. So go ahead and click here. Now, it's got a partial selection, but let's go ahead and hold the Shift key down. Now, you see when I hold the Shift key down, up here, it switches from this particular selection mode, which is Replace, with this particular selection mode, which is called Unite. So when I hold the Shift key, it switches to Unite, which means I can just click that instead, and then start clicking around here. And with the magic wand tool, I can kind of keep clicking around to keep adding to my selection. So I'm going to try to eventually see if PhotoPea will see the edges of this hair and skin and ear. It's looking for contrast. It's sort of looking for the things. Nope, seeing it's gone outside. So we can refine that later. And I'm just clicking around here, trying to add to my selection. And you can see it's not working great. The magic wand tool is not working great. What if we turned our tolerance up here? So if you just click and drag this up, it will grab more selection, and we've gone outside of selection. So let's turn our tolerance down. And in this case, we can go to the next mode up here and actually look at subtraction. So this should be subtract instead of unite. And then with our magic wand tool selected, if we click here in the selection out here, we can subtract from our selection. We don't want this part in our selection. And there's probably an easier way to subtract down the road, but let's go ahead and subtract, subtract, subtract. And it's going into the face, not ideal, not something we want, but that's okay. Let's go ahead back to our Unite, and let's go ahead and try to add, again, with the tolerance somewhere between that 15 and 60, right? 60 was too much, 15 was too little, so let's go ahead and try to add a little bit of time. This 25 seems to be working pretty good. All right. Not great. So let's look at some other methods here. This isn't really working the way that we want. I'm going to hit deselect and start over. So magic wand, quick selection, object selection, none of these were really working the way that I wanted to. So let's go over here, and if we click and hold, by the way, to get these options, click and hold on the tool. So click and hold with the mouse. You have lasso, polygonal, and magnetic lasso. So let's go ahead and try the magnetic lasso select. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I can do that. You can see here, zoom in, zoom out, fit to the area, pixel to pixel, etc. I'm going to zoom in. I want pixel to pixel. That's going to show me 100% of this image if I click on pixel to pixel. And you can see things get pixelated when I zoom in even more. So I'm going to choose to view this at 200% instead of 100%. And with the magnetic lasso, what I'm going to do is go ahead and click right here, and I'm going to start moving my mouse. And you can see that these little boxes are plotted along the way. That's okay if it's not perfect, right? So what I can do is kind of go, and I'm just moving my mouse. I'm not clicking. And PhotoPea will look for contrast. It's going to look for contrast to be able to finish this. Don't worry too much about your edge here. We'll come right up here, and we're going to go ahead and continue this line all the way around. If you find that it's not working, you can go back and then manually sort of click on an area to like lock one of those squares into place. And what am I doing? How am I getting this? And then just click there to finish the selection. So that's pretty good. How do I get this hand grabber tool? So the hand grabber tool allows me to move this image around. Well, the shortcut key while I'm in another tool, so I was in the magnetic lasso select tool, is just to hold the space bar. So I realized I didn't explain that. But whenever you see me kind of clicking and dragging around like this, I'm always just holding the space bar in order to do that. All right, so we have some work to do here. Let's clean up our selection using the lasso select tool. Now, with the lasso select tool, again, you want to go up here to unite or add to the selection, or you can hold the shift key and that will do the same thing. What we want to do is always be looping. Remember, ABL, always be looping. So you start in the selection and then kind of come out here, run that lasso down there, and then always be looping. Loop back, right? And same thing for this edge of the ear here. All right, I'm going to get a little of that earring, and then always be looping, ABL. All right, so that's not perfect, so I add a little bit more ear, a little bit more ear. All right, what if I want to deselect that? Well, I can select this mode, and then I come in here and fine-tune that line a little bit. There you go, that's a little bit better. It's okay if it's not perfect for this project. We're not super worried, but you know, like this big kind of chunk out of his neck there, we don't want that. So let's go ahead and loop around. And we're going to go ahead and loop around here a little bit. And let's fix that corner by going back to the subtract and removing that selection and so on. Down here, I'm not really worried about the edge, so let's go ahead and just make a big loop around here like so, like so, like so. Remember, always be looping. And let's grab the shoulder. All right, and subtract. The shortcut key, by the way, to subtract from a selection is the Alt key on a Chromebook or the Option key on a Mac. All right, so go back to our add. Again, the shortcut key would be Shift if I wanted to kind of use the shortcut keys. Loop this. It's kind of, that looks good. We got a little bit too much. So you can see here when I hold the Option key, it jumps to that subtract. So let's go ahead and subtract from this selection. So fine-tuning the selection is going to be an important step here. You can see it's taking me a little bit of time to get this perfect. ABL, always be looping. Now you can also see that the lasso tool gives me a much smoother line than this line right here that the magnetic lasso tool did, and that's okay. So I'll show you a way to kind of fine-tune your selections after the fact. So went a little bit outside here, so let's subtract from that selection. And we're in good enough shape here. So when we're done, we're going to go up here to the select, modify, and let's go ahead and smooth this. Let's smooth it by 3 pixels. And what that's going to do is just smooth out the selection a little bit here. And so we should have a selection of the head and shoulders of the person that we have found a picture of. In this case, the very handsome Michael B. Jordan. So that's part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.